Hello everyone and welcome to Sanctum TV. Today we're going to be doing a review on Evoland. So first we're going to do the background. Evoland is a single player action adventure RPG. It was released on April 4th, 2015 and developed and published by Shiro Games. In the game your character roams the world and unlocks different features that enhance the video game. For example, better graphics, colour and a storyline. The game is easily found on the iOS App Store, Google Play and Steam. The game does take inspiration from Zelda and Final Fantasy, so many of you will be familiar with that type of gameplay and genre. I will mention though that it does take the inspiration from the earlier versions of the game and then kind of works its way up, hence Evoland Evolution. So next we're going to move on to scoring. So this is how the scoring works. The game complexity, story's grip, character and gameplay are all out of 5 and then overall I'll do an out of 10. So first off, game's complexity. How complex was the game? I rated this a 3. The game wasn't very complex to begin with, it kind of works its way up, but I feel like as you get further through the game it does get more complex and does get more intriguing to see how it all strings together, so I did give the game's complexity a 3. I felt like that fit best, slap bang in the middle. So next was the story's grip. So this was quite a difficult one because there's a difference between the story that the game tells and the storyline in the game. So the story that the game tells is the evolution of video games, whereas the story in the actual game is just your classic Final Fantasy or Zelda storyline. So I give it a 3 for this reason, because the storyline within the game wasn't really that intriguing at all. It was one that we'd all heard thousands of times in the past, but the story that the game actually tells was very intriguing, which is why I awarded it a 3. So the quality of the characters, I rated this a 1. You didn't go very much in depth into the characters, so for that reason I didn't really think it was worth awarding it much more than that. Gameplay, I give the gameplay a 5, and I gave this a 5 for one fundamental reason. It's the gameplay of this style of game that give us many of the games we've got now. So without having this foundation of games like this, then we wouldn't have, the video game industry wouldn't have progressed. So we must have enjoyed these games for the video industry to progress. So I had to give the gameplay a 5 for that reason. Okay, so on to overall, the whole quality of the game and the story. Overall, I give it a 8. I really thought that it deserved an 8. To be honest, I wouldn't have given it much higher if it wasn't for the history, but the history is there, so it needed to be awarded. Next, I'm talking about notes. So, I really enjoyed playing Evoland. I loved how much it looked back on games that I loved so much from my childhood, like Final Fantasy and Zelda, games that were so brilliant that they just progressed, and now there are loads of games in the franchise because they were just so popular. Another thing that made this game so good is the simplicity of the game. In the first 5 minutes it's pretty clear how the game will develop, but despite this our interest remains because we want to see this development. We want to re-experience what it was like to grow up with these games. Many of us had these games when we were younger, and from the games like this it's just developed and developed and developed. So from the old Final Fantasy games to the new, you can see a clear difference, and this game shows that. And like I said earlier about the history, seeing all the history in the game and replaying it was really interesting and really enjoyable to do, and you could just see how it got better and better over time. So I really think if you haven't played it already, then I would really suggest playing it, because it's one of those games you play and then a couple of months later or a couple of years later, you replay it again because you constantly want to re-experience it, because why wouldn't you? Because that's what you grew up with. It's a memory from your childhood. So for that reason, I really think you should check out the game. There's also an Evoland 2, which just shows how well it was received. A lot of people really enjoyed it, mainly for the reasons that I mentioned. So if you agree or disagree, please say so in the comments below. I want this channel to be a community, so I'd like people to give their opinions and give their scorings, so we can see and compare notes with everyone else. Also, if you want to see the last review, I'll also put that